let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 7:04. I want to give a welcome to our commissioners, new and old. It's great to have a good, it's nice to have one meeting to have some overlap. So we'll get to some introductions once we get into the meeting, but let's go ahead and start with approval of the minutes and the agenda. So Rachel's going to share those on the screen. And before we get into the official approval, Rachel, just a point of order, since we do have a bunch of new commissioners, when is the official start date of the new commissioners?
So for this meeting today, any and all motions and voting happen or occurs just from the current / old commissioners. The term for new commissioners, I don't think starts until the 31st or something. So for tonight, we would just ask that any new, quote unquote, new commissioners please abstain from voting. And if it's easier, Amanda, we can also do like just roll call and I can call the old commissioners out. It doesn't matter either way. I think the only thing that will be voting on or motioning on are the minute approval and closing the meeting. So it shouldn't be too much of a worry tonight.
Sounds good. All right, well, let's go ahead and do the approval of the minutes then. So I think we've got 4 commissioners on, and you can see the minutes from last meeting.
I motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion from Jeremy. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Alyssa. The minutes and agenda are approved. We're going to start, before we dive into introductions, we're just going to do public comments. I do have one. Rachel, do you have any other public comments? Sorry, I can't hear you, Rachel.
Because I'm muted. You'd think after 2 years. No, I said I have none. You can go ahead and read Kara's.
Cool. So I just want to share a comment that I got from Kara Skahin. Kara says, hello to all the members of the Sustainability Committee. I write to ask for your consideration that the City of Richfield join our neighboring communities, including Bloomington and Edina, and formally declare a climate emergency. Although Richfield has taken some good local strides toward addressing the climate crisis, there needs to be significantly more state and federal funding to slow the effects of climate change and help vulnerable communities adjust. We need a strong chorus of Minnesota voices calling for change. Let's join our counterparts from other Minnesota cities and urge strong, bold state and federal action. And then Kara shares some links to local news articles about how other cities have joined in declaring a climate emergency. And says, thanks for your consideration, Kara Skahin, a Richfield resident and mom concerned about her future. So we thank Kara for that comment. And if commissioners want to discuss that a little, I think we could discuss that under discussion items. But we'll put that on pause for right now so that we can do some introductions first. So welcome to everyone. It's exciting to see some new faces in our meeting today. I'll start. My name is Amanda Keeper. I'm the chair of our Sustainability Commission. And we have some outgoing members on our call today. And I think we'll probably start with you, just so you can kind of share a little bit about who you are for our outgoing commissioners. And then we'll welcome our new commissioners and get some introductions as well. And we'll also get some introductions from our staff and elected official on the call. So I think maybe let's do name, how long you've been a Richfield resident, and maybe just one reason why you joined the Sustainability Commission. So again, I'm Amanda Keeper. I've been a Richfield resident for about 5 years, and I joined the Sustainability Commission because I'm really interested in climate change issues, and I was excited for an opportunity to get involved at the local level. So I will, I think, just go through and call people out, if that's okay. And like I said, I'll start with our current and outgoing commission members, of which there's a mix. But I'll start with our vice chair, Jeremy Bartles. Jeremy, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm on my way out. Is that what you're saying?
No. I said we have a mix of current. I'm like, you are? You didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
I got
a mix of current and outgoing commissioners.
No. Okay. Well, I'm Jeremy Bartles. I've been a resident of Richfield for I think like 7 years now. This spring will be 7 years, and I actually met Amanda at Hennepin County training for what was it actually called? It's been so long. The composter.
Master recycler.
Composter. Yeah, and a master composter and recycler. And we just kind of connected there and said, we need to bring this to the city a bit more and get the city moving. And so it just kind of fell into place that we were able to work together with a former resident or a former parks director and got the organics task force put together. And we were able to work with a number of other residents on that task force and bring some sustainability, the composting bins that started off at the 2 sites, and then which led into organized garbage collection with the amazing work of Rachel and her team. But yeah, so we've myself and Amanda, we've been, it feels like for a while, and we've made some huge strides. And I love seeing, even these little baby steps that the city's making. And I think we have some, big steps of some goals in the future of what we want to do. And I want to be a part of that. And so I'm volunteering my time and giving back as much as I can to help the city kind of move forward in that sustainability direction.
Thanks, Jeremy. Carolyn, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Carolyn Engeldinger. I've been a resident in Richfield for 47 years. And I was propelled onto the Sustainability Commission because I'm on the League of Women Voters Richfield board. And our study for the last 2 years has been on reducing the carbon footprint in Richfield. And we're going to continue that for another year because of its huge significance and importance to all of us. And they wanted one of us to be on the commission to be a part of this movement that Richfield has undertaken. And so far it's been wonderful. I am excited for the newcomers to experience this, and I think it's only going to get better. I think there's a lot of exciting things in the pipeline, and that's about it for me.
Thanks, Carolyn. And you're an outgoing commissioner,
Yes.
is that correct? Well,
Yes.
We want to thank Carolyn for serving on our Sustainability Commission. We'll miss you, Carolyn.
Thank you. I'll be around.
Good. Alyssa, do you want to go next?
Yeah, hey, so I am Alyssa Sanderson. I'm like Jeremy, I think this year will be my 7th year here in Richfield. Yeah, what kicked me into wanting to be part of the Sustainability Commission was number one, my mom's love for local government, and number two, just being involved myself for a long time in the community in a zero waste capacity. I've done the Hennepin County Master Recycler Program. I also did the Zero Waste Challenge through the county. So it's definitely a passion of mine personally, and I just really liked the idea of being involved in my own community. So.
Excellent. Thanks, Alyssa. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Brian. I've been a Richfield resident for about 4 years now. I joined because I think it's really important to do a lot more than just talk about what you care about and actually get engaged with it. I'm a science teacher, so when I tell my students how much this stuff matters, it's really important for me to also be engaging on some like practical level to make sure that I'm keeping myself in check and I can be a role model for them in more than one way. So this has been a really great outlet for that, for sure.
And Brian, you are also moving on, is that correct? Well, we want to thank Brian for serving on our commission. Brian kickstarted and organized some invasive species plant removals at Wood Lake Nature Center, which is a really cool thing. And we will try to carry on your legacy there, Brian, because it's a really great idea.
I'll definitely still show up too.
Good. Let's go ahead and introduce our liaisons and staff. So Jenna, do you want to introduce yourself and also share what your role is in the commission?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Jenna Hanson. I'm the liaison from the Community Services Commission. So we deal with Parks and Rec in Richfield. A lot of really fun park projects that coincide with sustainability. So I'm really excited to be your liaison. I've lived in Richfield for almost 2 years now, and I wanted to be the liaison for Sustainability Commission because I actually wanted to be on this commission when I joined the commission a year ago, but there were no openings, so I got the next best one. But nice to meet you all and hear a little bit more about you.
Thanks, Jenna. We're glad that you're still able to join us in liaison form. Rachel and Roxanne, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about your roles?
Yeah, sure. I can start us off. I think pretty much everybody probably knows who I am at this point, but Rachel Lindholm, Sustainability Specialist for the City of Richfield. Not a Richfield resident, but I have been with the city for, oh boy, 3.5 years now. And started as a Green Corps member back when Jeremy was mentioning the organics drop-off programs, and then transitioned into a staff position as well. So yeah, I think it's probably it for me. Roxanne, do you want to go?
Sure. My name is Roxanne, and I am the Minnesota Green Corps member working with the City of Richfield and Rachel. So, and I just started in September it was, I think. So, yeah, I'm not a resident of Richfield either.
Ben, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Ben Whalen from the Richfield City Council. I'm the Ward 3 representative, so the east side of Richfield. And I've lived in Richfield now about 6 years, and I'm really excited to be the liaison to this group, which just means that I can, anytime it's helpful to get context of something council's working on, I can weigh in on that or can bring things back to council. Anytime you make a recommendation to us, I can provide some context on what you all were talking about. And then happy to connect with you all, new folks. Glad you're here. And at some point, we'll probably reach out directly to try and get to know you a bit better. But really excited about Sustainability Commission just because it is so essential, and that we in our council role are often making decisions that will exist in the city longer than we will hopefully be using fossil fuels. And so just that this work is the long-term planning work of the city, and so excited to be with you all, and also the Right Now work. But yeah.
Great, thanks, Ben. It's really great to have you as a liaison to our commission and to be able to have that link back to the council. All right, let's get some introductions from our new members. I'll go in alphabetical order, which very conveniently for all of your names, I could do by first or last name and it would be the same. So that pleases me. Adam, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Adam Burnside. I'm a 6-year resident of Richfield. I'll turn my speaker down a little bit here. 6 years in February. And I put in for the Sustainability Committee. You know, as corny as it sounds, the whole we have one planet and we have to take care of it. I mean, that really is the reality. And if we need to, it's a lot easier to take care of what we have than try to repair and fix what we've lost. You know, and I've always been pretty passionate about recycling, about things like the polymet mine issue up in northern Minnesota. You know, the farm-based pollution runoff and how it's spoiling the waters of Minnesota. So and I know that for me that that to get involved, to be on a commission, to be more actively involved, gets me more involved than because if you do some volunteer opportunities, it seems like they just kind of slide by unless you're like invested in what's going on. And this is a way for me to be invested and be able to kind of put up or shut up. So that's me.
Thank you so much, Adam, and welcome. It's great to have you. Craig, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Craig Heins. Nice to meet everybody. This is also my 6th year in Richfield. I grew up in Bloomington, so not very far away. I've lived a couple other places, but have been in the area most of my life. The reason that I was looking forward to joining this commission is because my wife and I engage with a lot of components of sustainability at home. Solar panels, vermicomposting. We have some ducks in the backyard too that are not loving the cold temperatures, but we enjoy that. And then I teach a climate change class, and I just thought that joining this commission would be a good way to kind of further my reach and my impact.
Very cool. Thank you, Craig. And Logan.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Logan Tyne. I've moved to Richfield about 4 years ago. When I came to Richfield, I wanted to get involved in the community through the commissions, and so I joined the Friendship City Commission, and I served on that for the past 3 years, and have always been passionate about issues around climate change and environmental justice. And so over the past year and a half with the Partners in Energy work, I was able to get involved a little bit with that as well. And as my time on the Friendship City Commission expired and looked to decide whether to, what I could do next, I definitely wanted to at least put my name in for the opportunity to be a part of this group. So excited to be here with everyone.
Great, thanks, Logan. We're excited to have you and your previous commission experience. It's fun. So Rachel, I think you put in the chat, we do have a couple of other new members that couldn't join us tonight. Do you want to share an introduction for them?
Yeah, I'll do brief. They didn't email me anything, but I just want to just make sure everyone's aware we have 2 other new commissioners. First, Amy Utley will be joining us, and she tried her hardest to join tonight, even looking into seeing if Sun Country had in-flight Wi-Fi, which I'm sure her seat neighbors would have loved. But so she's looking forward to introducing herself at the February meeting, and just wanted me to let you all know that she's very excited to be on the commission. And then we also have Santwana Dasgupta joining us, who you all might know from her work with Alt Lawns with Richfield and Bloomington, and local zero waste work as well. So I'm very excited to have those 2 and to have a mix of people that I've worked with before in my role and new residents as well is also exciting. So I know Logan, like he said, has been a great part of our Partners in Energy work, and Craig's reached out to me before about sustainability related things. So very excited to meet you, Adam, and to work with everybody going forward too.
Great, agreed. Well, we have a pretty light agenda for the evening, so it's nice to take some time to get to know everybody. Yeah, the rest. So this will just sort of be a very brief introduction for our new members of the flow of our meetings, but we'll have a series of staff reports from Rachel, and then, like I said, if we want to circle back to discuss that public comment, we can. Otherwise, we'll just have a short Community Services Commission update from Jenna and adjourn after that. But let's go ahead and take some time to get some staff reports from Rachel. Want to go ahead, Rachel?
Yeah, let's start with our classic organized collection update for everybody. Honestly, I'm not sure all of what has happened since our last meeting in December, but I'll just try and do a general overview for our new commissioners as well. Recently, and especially actually post New Year, we've seen a lot of improvement in misses from haulers, which is personally extremely exciting. It makes my job a lot easier, and it's also obviously the service that residents should be receiving. And this is also, I just want to point out, this is especially good news considering how hard this COVID variant has hit the hauling industry. I mean, everything, as we know, but especially the hauling industry, and of course in various aspects, because it affects their mechanics, which affects trucks, which affects routes. There's so many things that we've seen with this variant for hauling, and I'm really glad that it has not affected service in Richfield as much as it has in other cities. And to be honest, part of that is because we are organized now. We have seen in a lot of open market cities recently, haulers having to delay service to different cities or even portions of cities because of staffing shortages. And our status as an organized city has definitely helped make sure that none of our service has been delayed in Richfield like to the next day. Sometimes haulers are working later in Richfield, which is something that I do want to bring up and make sure that residents are aware of. Your trash, recycling, organics might not be getting picked up at the same time that you're used to. And that's because if routes are delayed in other cities and they have to start, let's say a route is delayed in a Thursday route is delayed in another city, and a hauler has to start Friday morning to pick up that delay, that means that they might be in Richfield later. So just a heads up to everybody, if your trash is picked up at 9 and it's 9 and it's not picked up, that doesn't mean it's missed. So just a little patience as we work through another variant, and hopefully staffing levels do seem to be improving for the haulers as well. As always, residents are always welcome to contact me, even if it's their day and they are unsure if it's been missed. We can always check it out. So yeah, just keep the communication going. I'm always here to help with issues. Christmas tree pickup went fairly okay for most residents. We definitely learned a few ins and outs to improve it for next year. Again, COVID makes it a lot harder in other ways. So yeah, I think if you have any questions, I'm, of course, as always, willing to answer them. But we seem to be getting in the right position for warmer weather, which means fewer misses as well. So, I mean, warmer weather eventually. not quite yet, but new year. So anyway, I think that's pretty much the basics for organized collection. Roxanne and I are working on an organics mailer with Hennepin County to send out to residents, full of information, tips, tricks, how to set up a home system, contamination reminders, the accepted list, just, to keep going with that education. We continue with the social media posts as well. We are getting the organics newsletter up and running, the thing that we had for drop-off programs. It's going to transition into a drop-off and curbside organics newsletter through the city's whole new newsletter system. So definitely encourage you all to check out, I think it's called the Richfield Recap. Thanks, Ben. There is a Facebook post about it today, and you can sign up for a whole bunch of different newsletters based on your interests. In the future, we also hope to get a sustainability one started, but time does not allow that for me right now. So stay tuned for that. And I think, yeah, we continue to work on those two other things that old commissioners might be aware of, or if you've watched the recent city council work session, both the utility billing credit for residents to kind of take some of the funding that we've gotten from Hennepin County and give it back, similar to the previous recycling credit. And we are also working on finalizing the details for the compostable bag program, so to speak, for residents, where we will be able to provide a supply of compostable bags for residents participating in organics collection. So that's a project that Roxanne is heading up. And as soon as we finally get the last shipment, which again, delayed because of COVID, we'll be up and running with that. And so we'll definitely send out more details for you all, and then for you to share with your networks, neighbors, community, etc. So I think that's pretty much it with organized collection for now.
This was a really big project and a big part of our discussions in the previous year. Does anyone have any questions for Rachel about organized collection or want any clarifications?
I just have a quick question about I think we have 3 haulers, right, in Richfield.
Yep.
Is that static or is it dynamic in that, like, the market share of each one of them, does that change over time, or how does that piece work?
The only way that it would change is if one of the haulers decided to sell their market share to another and essentially not haul in the city. The established market share that they each have, obviously it's not 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. It's based on some state statute language that we have to follow. Basically, you take the market share 6 months before you organize, because it's not affected by any news or anything like that. And that's what each hauler is entitled to. So that means for us, Republic, it's pretty much exactly 50% of the city. And then Waste Management and Aspen are both about a quarter. I think one's like 26 and one's 24 or something like that. And so Republic actually had a little bit less, but they acquired Randy's. So now they're up to about 50. So yeah, it can change. It's totally possible. But unless they sell, or if a hauler was found in breach of contract and removed from the contract, that would be the only other way.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
And it looks like Ben shared a link for that newsletter in the comments section, so or in the chat. So thanks for that, Ben.
I can read it out loud just in case anyone watching the recording would like to know. But if you would like to sign up for any of the e-newsletters, you can go to www.richfieldmn.gov/subscribe, and you can sign up via email or text as well.
Great. Okay, next we'll have a staff report on the Partners in Energy project and any updates from Rachel on that.
Yeah, a little bit of a shorter update for Partners in Energy this time. We continue to work with PI staff and CEE staff. We're especially working on pulling together educational materials for renters and landlords/property managers right now with regards to energy efficiency. And we're hoping to send out a mass mailing to both groups in terms of, what each party can do, whether it's audits of buildings. There are specific multifamily building programs that provide audits, or if it's materials or light bulbs for renters themselves. So I don't have all the details right now. We're still working through all the logistics for mailing for that, but that's the biggest thing right now. We do have finally the complete website for Richfield stuff that we'll continue to edit. If you go to www.richfieldmn.gov/energy, it'll take you directly to our Partners in Energy page, which has a bunch of resources for many different users, I guess, everything from homeowners to renters to commercial business owners and tenants and things like that. So definitely encourage you all to take a look at that. Let me know if you think anything could be updated, or, well, not necessarily updated, but improved, or if there's questions you have about that content. Also feel free to share the link as well. And then we are finishing up an energy survey that we'll be putting out to the community in both English and Spanish to learn more about what kind of topics residents would like community energy education around. And so we'll be putting that on social media and in the newsletter, and I'll send it out to you all as well as we finish that, and maybe even tomorrow. So stay tuned for information on that. Please feel free to take it. It's really, really quick, as well as share it around. This will help us know, hey, you know, residents are interested in solar education, or other renewables, or just energy efficiency in general, or whatever. It's, you know, one of those ranking activities. So it's really quick, and that'll help us know what outside experts to bring in and things like that. I think that's pretty much everything for Pi.
Any questions for Rachel about Partners in Energy? We have one last staff report. I had read an article in the local paper, the Sun Current, about some grant funding that Richfield had received from the Department of Natural Resources to do some tree planting and tree replacement in Richfield. And it looks like maybe Rachel has a little bit of information that she can share with us about that.
Yeah, so I did put the link to the article in the description if you all are interested and haven't seen it. But I did end up talking to Chris Link in Public Works about this money in particular, and how that kind of also tails in with our existing tree policies and planting policies and things like that. So as soon as I can open my notes. All right, so going off of everything that's in that article, again, if this doesn't make sense, I just encourage you to read that article as a starting point. Chris was mentioning that our 2010 Emerald Ash Borer policy, and that's relevant because most of this money is because of EAB. Our 2010 EAB policy defines trees to remove and trees to treat. What we have found recently is that at this point, most trees seem to need to be removed. Our goal is obviously to preserve what canopy we can. You know, the goal is not just to remove everything and start over. You know, if we're able to keep trees and treat them and preserve that canopy, that's always ideal. With the grant money, Chris is looking at the city probably removing around 500 trees. One of Amanda's questions was which trees are getting removed, how is that decided, etc. And Chris was referencing the policy again and said that with this particular grant money, we'll be starting on the east side because the east side of Richfield has more ash prevalence than other parts of Richfield. And the goal is to try and get the canopy back in that area sooner. Obviously, if you remove a tree and replant it, you're gonna have canopy faster. So that's the goal, and the reason why most of this will be concentrated on the east side. One of the changes that staff and the city are making in general is to increase the canopy, is that residents used to be able to request if they didn't want a tree, but in order to increase our canopy as much as possible and really bring some of these trees that are desperately needed in residential areas, residents are going to be receiving trees and be receiving information on how to care for them as well. So it's a part of a collaboration with the city and residents to decide what trees work best in that area. We are prioritizing diversification as we have for a while, as we've seen based on past diseases. Diversification is key. And so staff takes a look at a block or two around the specific site, to look at the existing trees and what's out there, and then working with the property owners on what they'd like to see as well. We do have a boulevard inventory of trees, so we know what is planted where. And that makes it a lot easier to see, oh, this block is a lot of maple. Okay, we're going to avoid planting a maple here, etc. The species list, because that was another question we received, the species list is on the city website, but recently, I mean always, but recently especially, it depends on nursery availability. Of course, I'm sure an effect of COVID or something, but you can take a look at the species list on the website. It is pretty true to what is offered. And then the last question was about how is the grant funding like actually working, and Chris noted that our match is the city staff time used for removal of trees and stump removal as well. The DNR money is mostly going towards buying the new trees that are going to be replanted or planted, I guess. As a 2-year grant, last note, it started last fall. However, the weather hasn't cooperated as much as staff would like, so we are a little behind in terms of how many they were hoping to have removed at this point. So just, remains to be seen how quickly we can get back up and running through the rest of this grant. I'm not exactly sure why that is, if it's a, effect of climate change, or if it just so happened, COVID with staff or anything like that. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it is, a point to know that we have a lot of things that city staff are working on. This is another one, and tree removal is quite a labor-intensive process for sure.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for reaching out to Chris Link about that and getting some information to share. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the information Rachel shared?
Yeah, Rachel, just as a resident too, especially with the emerald ash borer. So like in my situation, we have a tree out front that's already being treated. Like I'm not doing it, obviously the city is, but so how is the city determining on the east side, how, like what trees will in fact be removed? I mean, our tree is, it seems fine for now, but how long, does a treatment last? How does a resident know if they're going to be, a tree will be removed or not, or?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know the exact answer, so I'll give you kind of the bits and pieces that I know. And I can also, Chris said he's more than happy to answer any questions that anyone has, and or I can follow up with him and copy you or whatever. But basically, I know that residents are mailed essentially like a postcard when they're involved in this process to kind of indicate their preference for specific tree species. So I would assume that before that mailer happens, there is some other sort of notification letter that says something about, hey, you're going to be needing a new tree soon. I don't know for sure. That is speculation, but I do know our forestry staff is in communication with residents about the health of trees in on the boulevard and things like that. So I specifically for your situation, I'm not exactly sure, but if the city is the one treating the tree, that's usually, and Amanda, you might know a little bit more about this process with your background, but I think with the EAB treatment, it's a multi-round or multi-year treatment process. And I would assume at the end of that, it's probably safe to say whether or not it's working for the tree. And yeah, I guess in your specific situation, I would just recommend contacting forestry staff or something like that to see what's going on. But I do know that, yeah, we send out a lot of mailings to residents about their responsibilities or the city's responsibilities when it comes to trees, so that residents are aware of what's happening near their property.
Cool.
Yeah, so the treatment usually needs to be renewed every 2 years. It does fade. It can, if an infestation is fairly early, there's a chance that the injection can kill the emerald ash borer, and if the tree isn't too far gone, sometimes it can recover. And it's funny because I have a mini case study on the boulevard trees on our block too, where I can see a couple where the treatment seems to have worked and a couple where it probably didn't in time. But I guess a follow-up question I had to that, Rachel, is so this funding is just for replacement. it can't be used to do some of those treatments to try to preserve those canopy trees that are surviving and still healthy?
That's a good question.
That's a
Honestly,
really big
I
cost.
don't
And
know. Yeah, I don't know if you know, what the DNR's guidelines are for that, and I don't know what if it is open, if the city staff have decided that it's, you know, better to use it all for replacement at this point. Obviously, we do treat trees, so there is money for that, but it didn't come up in my conversation with Chris, so that would lead me to think that this grant money is just for removal and replacement. But I can check.
yeah, I think that'd be a nice follow-up item with Chris, because I remember seeing some comments on social media from residents that were implying that the city was stretching out some of those treatments longer than 2 years. You know, and if that's a funding issue, if we don't have the money to like do them as frequently as needed to actually like preserve those canopy trees, that might be an area where it would be great to get grant money to fill in those gaps. And if we can use this money to do that, that, you know, might be a recommendation, you know, that we would want to make, just because if our goal is to preserve existing canopy, which it should always be to preserve the mature tree before replacing it, you know, those treatments are pretty essential because emerald ash borer is here and it's not going anywhere. So, but yeah, thanks for following up with Chris about those, and maybe you can just report back to us at the next meeting. Are there any other questions or comments from folks about the tree grant? Great. Well, I wanted to take a moment to, and Rachel, if you wouldn't mind just pulling Kara's public comment back up on the screen to share with people. I just wanted to take a moment to circle back to our public comment from earlier, and give commissioners an opportunity to react to it or respond, or if anyone had any thoughts or comments that you wanted to share about the recommendation for the Sustainability Commission to consider, you know, and I think the comment here is sort of encouraging the commission to consider making a recommendation to council to declare a climate emergency. So yeah, I just wanted to open it up the floor if anyone did have any thoughts or comments that they wanted to share at this time about that.
I certainly agree with Kara, and I think we should do this because, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to most people that we are in a climate emergency. I think it might carry some weight to have the city declare that. And I think it also kind of puts front and center the work of the Sustainability Commission. And just, I think the more focus we can bring on this issue, the better response we will get from residents.
Yeah, thanks for that, Carolyn.
I'm curious if anyone knows the answer to this. If we declare a climate emergency, what does that do? Or is that just making a statement?
Yeah, I had the same question. In theory, I absolutely agree. I would just be curious on, you know, in certain situations when you declare an emergency, there's some implied powers that come from a government that allows them to take certain actions, and I don't know what that would mean in our particular situation.
And this is Jeremy. I was just curious if anyone knew what it was at Edina and then Bloomington, how they proceeded. I'm assuming it went through the city council there, but was it brought to them via the residents, or was it something that the city council themselves took on? Does anyone know what that sort of procedure looked like in either of those cities as well then too?
Yeah, I can provide a little bit of context, and I think Ben can as well from the council perspective. I think the point about it being declared, Amanda, do you want me to keep sharing or should I stop sharing?
I think you can stop sharing the screen
Okay.
now so we can see each other's faces.
The comment about, you know, what is implied with being declared an emergency is a really great question, and is something that at least a few of the other cities who were involved in this considered as well. And I can't remember which one specifically, but one of them did not end up calling it a climate emergency declaration because of that. I don't want to put a city out there because I don't remember which one, but I believe it was a city in the West Metro who might have called it a climate crisis declaration or something like that because of the connotation of declaring an emergency and the feedback from staff and council on that. I would defer to Ben because I don't have information on what Richfield declaring a climate emergency might mean, but I think it is a really good point to be aware of, and it would definitely be something that we would need to talk to other staff about the specific language, especially public safety. So.
Yeah, I can share a little bit both from the council perspective and then also my day job. Actually, I work in community organizing and with an organization that's working with cities on trying to pass these. So the one thing I would say specifically to the question of emergency powers, like we declared a state of emergency when COVID first hit, and that does come with like some extra powers basically for staff and sometimes the mayor to make decisions more quickly when things are happening at a pace of like hours or days. I think when it comes to climate, we say quickly and we mean quickly, but it is just to say that some of these cycles on Earth have taken centuries, if not millennia, and now it's happening in months and years. But is not quite the same level of change that I think there would need to be special powers necessarily, because mostly they're related to how quickly decisions need to be made. But specifically to the question of like what would this do, I think and I think Carolyn made a good point about like what it implies to our residents and how much they're paying attention to what the city is doing. But I think the bigger impact is when many cities are doing this. And I mean, the Star Tribune article was because 16 cities had done it. That I think the folks in more of the climate movement are encouraging cities to do this so that if there are 50 or 100 cities across Minnesota that declare these, that really elevates it to the level where like the state legislature, who has a lot more funding and authority to take large scale action, or hopefully eventually the federal government would make larger investments, take more action. So it is in some part a symbolic gesture, but I think the fact that it is done en masse with other cities does make it more powerful. There's a similar thing happening, but I think not quite on the same scale around declaring racism a public health crisis, that you maybe heard of the county and a few cities doing that. So yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing that context, Ben and Rachel. Any other thoughts from folks on this topic?
Just in answer to Jeremy's question, I think you were asking if these proclamations, declarations, resolutions, etc., went through councils, and the answer is yes.
I just have one other thing that I'll add in that and it'd be interesting to see what these other cities are doing and if they're doing anything alongside the declaration. But I think in seeing declarations in the past for other things, there's a difference between having the declaration be symbolic, like we're talking about, and having other cities jump onto, or having it run alongside like a policy or an initiative, like we're declaring a climate crisis or climate emergency, and as part of that, we're doing X, Y, Z. You know, I don't know if it needs to be anything huge, but having some sort of action go along with the statement, I think would give it more teeth.
If it's relevant, I can pull up Bloomington's, I don't know if it was a news release technically, but they kind of had a list of their actions. Some of them are more symbolic or, you know, proclamations than actions, but it might give the commission an idea of how another city is developing their strategy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rachel, I was going to ask, I think my biggest concern or question would be, like we just, to the point of making sure we're taking action as well. At our last meeting, we did talk about a whole bunch of new ideas and obviously don't have capacity to do all of the ones we already thought of. I am open to possibly being naive, but it seems like a resolution would just take the writing, and then the work behind it would be continuing on the climate action plan and the other things we've already got in motion. But I wanted to check with you, is there like staff time and research that would have to go into this beyond just like someone literally writing it?
Yes and no. I mean, if this was something that went forward and was recommended to the council and the council directed staff to do this, there would be additional staff time to write. I think it would only be one staff report for the declaration, but you know, there could always be more staff reports. And just to clarify for new commissioners and or existing ones, a staff report in this sense is not the same as a staff report that I give during a commission meeting. Like a staff report in this sense is a full written document that would take some time to compile, especially like the historical data section and things like that. But you know, that's kind of how things on agendas go. So there's time involved in that. I don't think there would be a lot of research because most of it would build on Richfield's climate actions already. But it would be another thing that is currently not on my work plan. So there is that. I think it's important to, and as commissioners have been doing already tonight, to kind of identify the goal here. Is the goal to make the statement? Because that's what a declaration like this would do. If the goal is to see what tangible actions would come out of making said statement, I think we can kind of look at Bloomington's here and see that a lot of it is continuation of action that they're already doing, just like it would be continuation of action that we're already doing, and or the bottom two bullet points calling on others to do more. So I think this is definitely something that would just need to be thought about by the commission before they make their recommendation. There's pros and cons to this, just like there's pros and cons to everything. But I think it would connect with the work plan brainstorming that the commission has already done, and with that, spoiler alert, is on the agenda for the next commission meeting too. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Ben, but yeah, there would be time involved, but it wouldn't be the longest staff report I've ever written. So
yeah, and if it saves time, we've also certainly had proclamations. Proclamations may be different than a resolution, but that literally have not had a staff report. So that could be another route if it is a proclamation.
Yeah, that would be another thing that we would have to look at. A proclamation you're right, that would be a little different. We would have to figure out, it goes hand in hand with, would this be declared a true emergency? I mean, not a true emergency, but a climate emergency using the emergency language or something else. That could also be a question that comes into that.
Great. Well, this has been some good discussion, and yeah, maybe this is something that between now and our next meeting, Rachel, if you do get some more information about what exactly it would do to have this resolution that you could share with us, maybe this can be a discussion item that fits in with our discussion about like work planning and such at the next meeting. But yeah, I think for me, those last two bullets that were about calling on the state officials and calling on federal officials to make changes, I think were probably the most important pieces in some way, because a lot of it was just sort of repeating like what the city was doing already, which Richfield had a lot of those same boxes to check as Bloomington, Green Step Cities, a climate action plan, and a partners in energy action plan. So could have all that too, but like the key is kind of like Ben said, is joining this chorus, I guess, that's calling on, the state of Minnesota to meet its Next Generation Energy Act, greenhouse gas goals, and calling on the federal government too.
One other thing to just keep in mind is that if the commission decided to make this recommendation and if council decided to act on it, obviously these 16 cities did it at a coordinated time period. So just keep in mind that anything that Richfield would do, which is not a bad thing. I mean, anybody adding to a chorus makes it louder, but it would be significantly delayed at this point. So if that is a motivating factor, or something to think about. I don't remember what group I think this came out of, but I didn't hear about it until after the cities had done it either. So timelines are might be a factor for some people's value of a proclamation like this too. Not that, climate action or climate work is going anywhere. It'll always be relevant. So.
All right. Well, we don't have other discussion items or action items this evening. So let's go ahead and get our Community Services Commission update from Jenna.
All right. Well, as many of you know, the rec department was back to normal schedule-wise for winter activities, but that has had to be pulled back. So a lot of activities have been limited or canceled entirely. Most of those affect the older adult community in Richfield. So a lot of their activities were canceled. The Senate bonding, there's a Senate bonding tour at Wood Lake about a week ago. So for those of you who don't know, they are looking for funding for a new building at Wood Lake Nature Center. So the House came a couple months ago and now the Senate came. So no word yet, of course, but we're hopeful. And they were able to fix the pool roof right before the cold weather hit. If they hadn't been able to fix it before all the below zero, they were worried that it was going to cause a lot more damage. So in case you didn't know, the pool roof got, the building by the pool, it was severely damaged in one of the last fall storms, but fixed. And then we had a winter food drive recap. The first 2 weeks of December, we did a food drive for Veep down in Bloomington. And we had a goal of 5,000 pounds because last year, our first annual food drive, we got 4,000, but we're now thinking that pounds maybe isn't the right way to measure because we only got 2,700, but we had 2 more pallets than the year before. So we had more items, but they didn't weigh as much. And a big reason for that is probably because people who donated paid attention to what Veep needed, and a lot of their needs were paper products, which don't weigh very much. So overall, it was successful and made a big impact for our neighbors. And then one other item, the Wood Lake manager came and talked to the Community Service Commission about how Wood Lake is looking to be designated an urban night sky. They're looking to get urban night sky designation, excuse me. So that is a space that promotes authentic nighttime experiences. So there are already some of those experiences happening, full moon hikes. But so this specifically is for an urban area. So, you're not going to see the stars at Wood Lake that you would see, far away from a city. So it is different. It's not like you're going to get an amazing star viewing experience at Wood Lake. But if it is designated, there would be a lot more nighttime activities offered over at Wood Lake. So I think that would be pretty cool. But that is all from CSC.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenna. I think we're all eagerly following the Wood Lake bonding proposal. So thanks for keeping us updated on that. Before we move to adjourn, I want to say I was remiss in my thanks of outgoing commissioners. Rachel messaged me that Alyssa is also leaving us, which I was not aware of. So I apologize for that oversight, Alyssa, but you will be very missed as well. And we thank you so much for your time with the commission. And this is a little, a corny kind of web call thing, but I was wondering if we could all take a moment to unmute our microphones and give a round of applause to our 3 outgoing commissioners, Carolyn, Alyssa, and Brian. So please join me in thanking them.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And we're excited to be, got some of this too. We're excited to be continuing this year with our new commissioners as well. So thank you for those of you who are able to join us a little early tonight before your term started. So our next meeting is Thursday, February 24th, again at 7 p.m. and it will again be virtual. Before we move to adjourn, are there any final questions or comments from folks? Good of the order. All right, so we are looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do we have a second?
Second, Brian.
Thanks. And can we get a show of hands for all in favor? Aye. Great. It's unanimous that the meeting is adjourned at 8:04.